What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a right rear window regulator in this 2001 Buick Regal. So the first thing you're going to do here is you're going to be removing this plastic trim around the handle. Then you're going to pop this little plastic piece out down here to expose these two 10mm bolts. These are pretty rusted, but they shouldn't normally look like that. This particular one's had some issues. Once you remove those two, this panel will be free for the most part, but it's held in by these push-in plastic clips. So you're just going to work your way around and pop these out loose like this. I usually go from the bottom to the top. Once it's all free, you can pull it back. Then you're going to need to unhook the connector for the power window switch. Okay. Just like that. Then it'll be time to remove this weatherproofing. This tar can be reused to reattach it afterwards, so just be careful not to stretch it out of shape too much or tear it or mess up the little ring of tar around it. If you're patient, it should come off in one piece without any problem. Then you're going to need to remove, or you don't have to, but I removed this little styrofoam piece to get you some extra room to work. Then you're going to need to get the window down far enough to remove the two 10mm bolts that hold the regulator to the window. These are them right here. With those out of the way, you're going to push the window back up and secure it up with either tape or a suction cup, something that'll hold it up, or you can remove it if you want to. Then you're going to need to remove 4 10mm bolts for the main track here that it moves up and down, and then 3 10mm bolts that hold the motor to the door. These you can actually wiggle out with the bolts in. You don't have to remove them completely from the motor. Then once you've got that done, you're just going to kind of work this regulator around until it lines up with the hole of the door enough that you can pull it out. Just like that. Then you'll need to unplug the electrical connector here. A screwdriver helps. With that out of the way, it's time to get the new one and get the new one prepped and ready to go back in the door. I picked up this one from Rock Auto, but it can be gotten at pretty much any local parts store will have these. So you just got to work it back into the door the same way that you work the other one out. Sometimes easier to put the motor in first, then get the regulator portion of it pushed in. But it can be kind of tricky. Just mess with it until you see what works best for you. One problem I had here was I let the window glass come back down some, and that got in my way trying to put everything back in. So just make sure that it's secured all the way up, and it gives you a lot more room to work. Once you get that in, you're going to line up the bolts for the motor right over here. Then just pull the regulator over and line it up with the 4 bolt holes that you removed here. Then you just need to put all the bolts back in and tighten them all back up. Then you're going to push the window back down, line it up with the regulator, and restart the two 10mm bolts that hold that in. Then you're just going to snug those bolts back down. You don't want to go crazy snugging those down. If you're using a power tool, you need to be very careful. You barely want to pretty much bump it. Otherwise, by hand, you just want it kind of good and snug. You don't need to torque it very hard. Then remember to put your piece of sound deadening back in, and you want to make sure that this sticks to the inside of the door by the little tar strips that are on it, because if it doesn't go in there flat enough, you will have a problem with the window contacting it. But the next step then, after that's all done, is to put this plastic weatherproofing back, which is what I'm doing right here. Just make sure you pull the electrical harness through so that you don't, lose it before you put everything back together. Then it's just time to pop the door panel back on. So you're just going to push your stuff through there, line everything up, line all the little pops up. This is a great time to replace those plastic push-in connectors if you've got the time and the money to get them, because it does help this stay a lot better secured to the door. Snap them back in like that. Then you're going to replace your two 10mm bolts that go in the door handle. You don't want to go crazy tightening these in, you just want to sort of barely snug them down. Then you're going to replace the bolt cover here. And then your final step, put your switch back in if you removed it like I did. If not, you would have plugged that back in before you put the door panel back. And then you're going to replace the little black plastic surround that goes around the door handle, which just snaps in too. So just line up your snaps and push those in. Then test your door and you are done. And that was it. Pretty simple job, pretty straightforward on these. Drop this video a like, drop me a comment with something else you'd like to see me do, or if there's anything else you have any questions on, I'll be glad to answer them there. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.